It's been a couple of weeks since we've been together now. Like,
Yeah, all right. A couple of solo missions. It's been interesting.
yeah, vacation. You went on vacation. I went on vacation. And then I know I had a good vacation and I heard a little bit about your vacation. It sounded like
Mm,
a vacation as well. So
very good. Thank you.
nice. So we're going to talk accountability today.
I gotta go. That's it,
uh,
right? That's what we're going to talk about?
exactly. That is exactly what we're going to talk about. And, it's I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about accountability. I've got to be honest, I didn't do a lot of investigating with regard to this topic. So I'm really giving my impressions of it, my thoughts about it, and what it means to me today. So, I'm excited to talk about this. Hopefully it's helpful to our audience and those that are listening to this now and anybody who listens to it in the future. And our goal always that they take something away from this. So I'll let you start. And my question to you, I'm going to ask you the question is if you had to define accountability, what does that look like to you? Did your eyes just get big?
Uh, that's funny. You know what? I was doing some research ahead of time just to kind of polish up my thoughts and my information, and I typed accountability into Google, and the definition came up, and I didn't pay attention to it. So I don't know what the technical definition of accountability is. Holding you to your word, I guess, is the simple way of putting it.
Okay.
I want to do X, and accountability is saying, did you do it?
All right.
I don't think it's any more complicated than that.
No, I would agree. If I used my analogies, I look at accountability as we create something, we have a creation, whether it's a thought, a goal, an objective, whatever the case may be, and
Mm-hmm.
we throw that into the air. And how I see accountability is that foundation down below, that whatever it is we're trying to achieve, that the accountability portion of it is really the foundation for that whole thing and actually getting there to sustain and hold that thought or that idea or that goal or whatever the case may be up. Um, so
Yeah, it's perfect.
I also think of it as, it's we have to measure. It's one of the key elements within accountability is measuring, the what we take action, you know, we're accountable and we take action, we measure that and we adjust and we move forward. But yeah, it's kind of my thought. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's exactly right. It's deciding what you want. What do I want? Let's define that. And then figuring out a plan to get there. Well, what do I need to get there? It's really that simple. Uh, it becomes very complicated to accomplish it, but it's like we're always saying real estate, right? It's like, don't go out there and try to create the new wheel. The wheel's out there. All you have to do is commit to it. And so if you make that plan, the accountability is what enables you to get through the long haul. Because we can all say we're going to, the easy example is make calls. But there's a million things. There's working on the background of our business. There's the getting involved more social media. There's getting involved with social groups, like literally and physically. And we can all do that. And we choose to get through a few days, few weeks. Man, if we're really doing well, we get through a few months. But that's when inevitably we start to say, God, is this really working? Is this worth my time? Oh, maybe better if I did this. And we live in such a world of distraction too, right? So it's very easy to step off of that path and say, no, well, let me do this. And you can look at it as a kind of a path like this, and you're walking across the top of it. And as you start to stray a little bit, it's real easy to slip right off that path and totally lose focus. And I think all of us know this and have experienced this. And so to have that accountability, it helps keep you on that crown and moving forward. When, I conduct a lot of accountability here at the office, and what we talk a lot about, or what I like to say is, what, although I want to celebrate your victories, what I really want to celebrate is you just doing the work, because that's what we need over time, the sustainability of what we know works despite the immediate response. So the immediate response may be no. Okay, well, we can talk about that, and you might be like, oh, I want to say, awesome. What's that book? Go for no. It's true every day.
Yep.
If I said I'm going to do something and I do it, let's celebrate it. Because I know, even though you're not getting the sale or the appointment or the response that you're looking for through your actions, that it's the repetitiveness of it that will ultimately get you there. And that's what we need to be cheerleaders about, really, in accountability. And then, of course, a big celebration when it actually turns out to be the result, the listing, or the closed buyer, or whatever it might be.
Well said. And I piggyback on that, and I couldn't agree more, because I look at it as so often we talk about accountability and we talk about our goals and we talk about, hey, here are the actions. And so often do I see people where, instead of just saying, hey, these are the steps that we're going to do, these are the actions that we're going to take, and have faith that this will work, is we spend all of that time looking for a different idea or a different situation or somewhere to, maybe try to make the process easier. And
to not do the work. Is that what you're suggesting?
Exactly. But I don't want to make the phone call, so I'm going to come up with a different process. And then I decide that process isn't okay, so I'm going to come up with a new process. And in reality, I get that to a certain extent, but at some point the action has to be taken, whatever action we take. And then we look at that, we measure it, and we make adjustments, and we try to become better at it. So,
that's what you're describing is getting ready to get ready.
Right? Exactly. And I don't want to say that, hey, this is the only way to get from, if we want to travel from here to Sacramento right now, we can take a 10-minute drive over to the airport and grab a plane and be there. We can take I-5 and drive. We can take the 101 and take a different route. There's several different ways. We can get on a train, and there's several different ways that we can get there, and all of those ways will get us there. But in each one of those ways, they all have their pros and their cons. If I'm in a hurry and I want to get there right away, well, then it's going to be jump on the airplane and get there. Now, what is in this particular environment, now creating more exposure to possible COVID and things like that, my cost is going to be higher because I'm booking a flight at the last minute versus driving. If I decide to take the train, I'm giving up time. So I guess my point is I don't want to say that, I'm against, hey, you don't want to do it this way. That's okay. However you decide that you want to get from here to here is fine, as long as that route works. The 4 ways that I just gave as an example will all get us there. So we have faith in that, but then we have to take action and implement and see it through. And, so often we just don't see it through. And I guess the real question is and you mentioned that we make it complicated. What are some of the examples that you hear when you are working with people with accountability, that you see how we're making it complicated?
Well, you kind of inferred a little bit about changing or the way you do it. And it's just overthinking things. I think that we feel like for it to be effective, it has to be difficult to us. We have to put a lot of brain energy into it and plans and things. And really, the answer is usually the simplest thing. And it's not very complicated. Pick up the phone, That's it. Boom.
Right.
Well, like David Goggins, I was reviewing a little David Goggins for this, and he talks about the accountability mirror. And he said, no, you don't want to lose weight. You're fat. Say it. And he's just straight up to the point. Just do it. And his example was things you don't like to do. All right, so I wanted success, but I'm scared of the phone. Go make 100 phone calls. That's how you get over the fear. Just go conquer it. Just crush it. Don't overthink it. Well, if I call those people, that won't be the most effective. If I can whittle this list down and really get to those calls that are going to be the most, no, stop. Pick up the phone.
Right.
Knock on that door. Send out that mailer. You know, let's not get too critical about what we're doing here. Basically, it's going right back to what you said, Nestor. Take the action. And we overcomplicate it by overthinking it. And I challenge everyone out there, think back to the last time you were trying to accomplish something like this and ask yourself, how did I approach it? And did I really make it too complicated? And I think the answer is going to come out yes. It's, you know, we want to, like you said, we want to measure, we want to pay attention to what we're doing. But first and foremost, without action, you've got nothing.
Right.
And so that's where we're at accountability. I wrote here, what do we know about accountability? We know every agent needs it. Okay, let's say everyone needs it, whether you're an agent or whatever, right? Your personal life, your professional life, whatever. And everyone fears it, right? That's accountability. Why is that? Why do you think that is, Nestor? Why do we fear accountability?
So let me ask a follow-up question. So how often do you think it happens, or do you feel it happens? Because one of the complexities that I feel where we make it complicated is we create a goal or we create a situation, and sometimes I feel like, have you really taken the time and energy that really is your goal? So often I feel like people are making goals that aren't their goals, but are somebody else's goals, or that are influenced by others. So they truly don't have a buy-in to it to begin with. And we end up down that path of self-sabotage because we didn't take the time in the beginning and keep it simple to, hey, is this something that I really want? And, you know, am I willing to make the sacrifices for this particular thing? And if the answer is, you know, no, being able to identify that for myself and really figuring out what it is that I'm looking for. And I feel like we have to be careful because sometimes we downplay things just to make it easy on ourselves when that's not really what we want either. So, and I guess again, you know, kind of answering my own question, but it's getting into that, you know, keeping things simple and making it a little bit more complicated. But do you feel like you ever see things of that nature or something like that, or have examples of something like that that's occurring?
Yeah, and I will take a step back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. And I said the first step is, what do you want? And you know what I missed is then you got to ask, why do I want it?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. People just throw things up and there's no emotion in it. Man, you get emotion involved in what you're doing, and that's a powerful tool. So, did that answer your question?
I think people forget that so often. Why do I want this? And and you know, sometimes we want something for someone else. For example, part of the things in life that I want aren't necessarily because I want them for myself. It's that I want them for the other people around me, and those people are important to me, and we want to make sure that we're going down this path in order to fulfill that, whether you feel it's an obligation or just that that's something that you truly want to do. So I agree, the why, so I discover my why do I want to do whatever it is that I want to do, and then we figure out then what is it that we want to do, or what is it that we need to do, and then the next thing is well, taking action. Do we tend to overcomplicate it by adding too many things? Because I know that in your accountabilities, you try to keep it simple. Hey, what 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 activities are you putting in place in order to create that what? And again, too often where I see people, well, I need this, and then that list is 15 things long, and then we lose it. The whole thing becomes blurry.
Yes. Yeah, it's getting ready to get ready is what you're saying. And the way to overcome that is to do the thing. Let me give you an example. When I was out there prospecting, marketing, and doing my business, I was a door knocker. And for those of you that, well, maybe we're not all the same, but I think many of you will relate to this, which is there was never a time that I went door knocking and didn't have fear of doing it. Literally, I really never got over that. But I always forced myself to do it. And there was never a time I felt more full of energy and more empowered than when I just knocked on all the doors that I said I was going to knock on. So I would get in my car and I would literally drive around. Okay, I got to go door knocking. I'm in my farm and I'm just driving around. And, that might be 5-10 minutes. And then I'd finally say to myself, look, you wimp, get out of your car and go door knocking. And I just pull over and I'd push everything out of my head, right? Oh, well, it's got to be this person, right? I got to talk about this. And I don't know if that's right. I don't care anymore. Pull over, knock on that door. And that's how I got started. You just take the action. You just got to get rid of all that preparation and do it. And then, like you said, you got to pay attention to what you're doing. You got to remember, okay, what's my goal? How am I headed there? Okay, what happened today? And how can I learn from that and improve and maybe be more efficient? But without taking the action, any thought about what you should do or whether it's a good or a bad thing is ridiculous.
Right.
You haven't done anything yet. And you'll just talk your way out of it doing it every time. So, just get out there. I love Tom Ferry's. Do the thing, have the power. Do not the thing, have not the power.
Exactly.
That is so truthful.
And so just so everybody knows, there are fears out there and different fears for different people. But I too had that similar fear. I do not care for door knocking. And I recall, you were making me smile when you said you were driving around the neighborhood, because I was thinking, I used to pass the same spot where I decided I was going to park like 10 times before I literally stopped the car and parked and got out of the car. And one of the things that always occurred is once the action started, once you got past 1 or 2 or 3 doors, things became easier. But some things that understand that there's fears out there and for different things. Example is when I first met you and we were talking about things, I recognized that you actually, at least it feels like to me, that you actually enjoyed getting on the telephone and making phone calls, where that wasn't something that I really enjoyed. And part of that comes from the different fears that are out there. And I would recommend that, we set the goal, that's fine, and we take the action. So we can use door knocking as an example. I didn't like door knocking either. And the thing that changed for me was a garage sale, believe it or not. And why it changed was we were having a community garage sale, and I decided that I was going to go door knocking. But my message wasn't talking about selling a house. My message was just simply, hey, we're having a community garage sale coming up on such and such day, and I just wanted to let all the neighbors know about it. And for whatever reason, in my mind, I felt like I was bringing value to the person that was on the other side of the door. So I was completely comfortable with it, and I could do that all day long. And then I ended up taking that and saying, well, how do I relate it to sales? And I remember answering the question for them was the easiest thing for me. So I was knocking on the doors now when I was dealing with real estate, and went from garage sales to, you don't, hi, I'm Nestor with Remax Premier Realty. Travis, you don't want to sell your house, do you? I was answering the question for you. I already gave you the no. So I was comfortable. I can go all day long and knock on doors. You don't want to do this, do you?
You were
And
really going for no, weren't you?
I was, but but here's the point that I want to make. Even in doing that method, I still got a yes every
Yeah,
now and
because you
then.
took the action.
Exactly.
Every once in a while, a blind squirrel's going to find a nut, right?
Exactly. So, and then I realized, hey, it's really not that bad. And then it's like, again, it's take that action and then modify it and figure things out. And if you're not ready to take the big action, identify that, and that's okay. But figure out how I can to continue to move forward and build that foundation.
Yeah,
But
I was the same way. I was never comfortable getting on the phone or knocking on doors unless I felt I was justified in doing that. And I suppose we all have different levels of justification. But for me, it was, hey, am I bringing value to this person?
right.
And literally, it was as simple for me as I had a calendar every year. Every year on my farm, I knocked on every single door in my farm to give out that calendar. And I felt justified in it. Hey, I've got something that may be of value to you. And so I'm going to knock on your door. And it really improved over time. But at first, it was as simple as that. And on the phone, it can be the same thing. Hey, why am I calling you and having this be of use or value to you? And then that enabled me to get over the hurdle. And I think as any of you that have tried it or do it on a regular basis, once you hit your stride, which literally takes one or two phone calls or one or two doors or one or two whatever, man, you got your stride and you're going now to getting over that little bit of fear. And I think that's what a lot about accountability is. It's pushing you past that initial shock of fear. Um, and so I'll go back to David Goggins. I'll hit on his points real quick. And he said, for his is like a life lesson, I guess. Make a list of the things you don't like to do. Now go out and do a ton of it. That's his way of getting over the fear and to be held accountable is, hey, you don't like to knock on doors? Go knock on 100 doors. Okay, now triple down on that. And guess what? You're not going to have that fear anymore. Sorry to keep using that analogy of, I guess it's the easy one of the phone and the doors, but this could be anything. This could be having that conversation with someone or joining that group or whatever it may be. It can solve facets of the business.
Absolutely. It's funny because I was having a conversation about social media, and social media doesn't work, and how do I make an impact on social media? And I said, well, what platform are we talking about? And they happened to pick Twitter. And I said, okay. I said, post 24 times. And they said, okay. And I said, a day. And they said, excuse me. I said, post once an hour, 24 hours a day, and keep doing it. I said, you will make an impact. Well, what do I post about? Or doesn't matter. You'd say the same thing, even if you don't know.
I love that. It's like, people are going to think, who is this clown?
Exactly.
And then they're gonna ask their friend, hey, have you seen this Nestor guy? No, who's Nestor? Okay, well that's a good question. He's this realtor in Irvine. Yeah, what is he posting? I don't know. All this stuff is kind of. Have you heard of this? And then all of a sudden, Nestor is like, or
Exactly.
is the talk of the town. I like that.
Yep. So, and you know, and I look at that, and that is I stole that from gosh, hate when I can't remember names. It'll come to me. It'll come to me.
Gary V.
I'm sorry.
Gary V.
No, it is somebody in the chat will know who it is. There's somebody online here who will know who I got that from. And will remind me, but it will come up. But one of the other things that I always look at when we talk about accountability is creating a scoreboard and making sure that we are keeping track of what we're doing and looking at our results so that we can make a modification. And I always like to use this example and why it's so important to keep track. When here's an example I can give you, Travis. So let's say you go to a football game and you get there and your favorite team is playing your least favorite team. And let's say the scoreboard has been blown down and there's no scoreboard there, no way to actually see what the score is or what down we're on or anything like that. That audience and that stadium full of people will not be able to stay engaged in what's happening in the game, and they won't be able to get behind their team or hate the other team, whatever the case may be, or truly pay attention to it. And what you'll end up with is a real quiet stadium with nobody cheering, because without the scoreboard and not keeping score, nobody knows exactly what it is that we're fighting for, or exactly what it is.
Or where you stand. Yeah.
Exactly. So we have to realize that on a subconscious level that works with us with regard to what we're looking for when we're thinking about being held accountable or creating a goal or creating a situation, that if we don't have that scoreboard for ourselves and we don't know where we stand, we're going to make an assumption. Most of the assumptions are going to be that, the game doesn't matter or the goal doesn't matter or whatever, or it's unachievable or we haven't made any progress.
Well, you're going to assume that I'm bored and this doesn't matter and you're going to leave.
Exactly.
Walk away from your commitment to that game. Yeah.
So what are some of the ways that how do you keep score?
Yeah, I mean, you have daily. I have an awesome one actually. Actually, this is a good example. Is when I started, I literally was hashtagging on a piece of paper. I was like, I've been told I got to keep track of what I'm doing. So let me see what I'm doing. And so I was just hashing on a piece of paper, and I'm like, wait a minute, I needed to do this over and over again. I should have some sort of form. So I went on Excel or something and just made this really basic form. And to cut to the chase, over a 6-month period, I went from hashing on a blank piece of paper to having a daily checklist that I had with my goals on it. So I knew what I was looking to do, opportunity to show exactly what I did on there with an area at the bottom for notes. And then that I would put on a spreadsheet that would accumulate that data on a weekly to a monthly to a where I stand since I began basis. When I did that, I was like, wow, like this is powerful. Because I would look each week and I'd be like, okay, I'm 10 ahead or I'm 10 behind. And, I kind of see what I'm doing. God, am I making much? Well, I'm only doing 30, 40 contacts a week. The doubt sets, am I really doing, is this really making an effect? And after a couple months, then you go to the big sheet that accumulates all the data for you that you've been doing. And you're like, whoa, I made 200 contacts over the last month and a half. Okay, now that feels powerful to me. Wow, I really am doing some work. And then you can see what's my conversion, how many calls is it taking me, or how many whatevers does it take me to get in front of someone, and how many times when I get in front of someone does that mean that it leads to the next step? And I know we've all heard this, but man, I'll tell you, when you get into it, it's some powerful stuff. So yeah, I've done that, and
the compound effect starts to kick in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I, one of the things that I want to point out in what Travis said is how you create the data. I do believe in making sure that you create something that is measurable, but just if he would have stuck with a piece of paper and just doing the hashtags every single day, and you end up at the end of the year with this big giant stack of papers that has hashtags all over it, it would still give you information and would still give you feedback of what was going on. You would see some type of scoreboard, and it doesn't matter what it is, but the more, I will tell you this, the more in depth you make it, or the more that you put behind it and the more personal you make it, the more of an impact that you will actually see in it. I will challenge you of this, and this may sound silly to you, but let's say you had a goal of prospecting, and I'm going to prospect 1 hour every single day. And, you can create the hashtags of the prospecting, create a checklist and this and that. But I create the very simple thing of, hey, I'm going to grab my cell phone and I'm going to take a selfie of myself every single day when I start prospecting. even something like that, that after months of doing that, if you actually looked at the photos, you would probably see a transition and your whether it be your body language, whether you might be starting off of misery on your face, so the next thing you know, a month later or 2 months later, there's a smile on your face, whatever the case may be. But you will get positive feedback from that if you're keeping track of things. So I I encourage you to get creative with it, get fun with it, challenge yourself with it, and understand. So what do we do? So Travis, what do we do when I say, okay, here's my accountability, this is what I'm going to do, and I do it for a while and boom, I derail?
What was your why? Why are you doing this, Nestor?
Why did I
What is
derail?
it? No. Why are you trying to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish? What was it that drove you to say, I need some accountability? Can you help me? And you need to refocus on that because obviously it wasn't powerful enough or emotional enough to keep you going. But in the moment, it's like, okay, yeah, what did happen? And finding out and saying, is there a reason enough for you to be doing this? You know what needs to be done. What happened? What got you off the rail? Let's get you back on. Don't worry about that. Let's get back to what you know needs to be done. Do you agree that doing X, Y, Z is going to lead to what you'd like to accomplish if you do it enough over time?
Absolutely.
Let's get back on that horse. It's an encouragement thing. I think with accountability, so people want accountability, or they think they want accountability. I don't think they understand what it really means to say, I have a goal, I want to be held accountable to it. What it means is your life is going to change. Your day-to-day life is going to be different, and you need to be prepared for that. If you say, I want to be held accountable, and you go about your days as you were before, it's not going to work. I mean, you're asking for a life-altering opportunity. And what that means is, like, for me, the way it felt back in the day when I was doing this and committed to it, it's like, okay, I've got to do this, whatever it was. And I would carve that out and I would push everything else aside. And I think that's probably the hardest thing. It's like, no, I do these things. I've got this comfort zone. Yeah, well, that's it. You got to get out of that. And when you do that hour, that 2 hours or whatever you committed to, and you push everything else aside, you start figuring out, wow, if I'm going to do this, I got to do some of this stuff in the morning, or I got to wait and do it in the afternoon, but I know I've got to do it. So rather than, hey, it's 4:45 and yeah, I think I'm going to go home now. It's like, no, wow, I did my prospecting. Now I've got these 10 things to do that I would have done during the day, but I got to do them now because I know what I want to accomplish and I've got to get this work done.
Right.
That changes the way you operate. You're going to feel it in your body. If you're not feeling it in your body, you're not doing the right things.
Correct.
You're not making that change that you need to do, that you need to make happen to accomplish what you want. I have a note here. When you have accountability in your life, you suddenly do more. And you can't do more without changing the way you're doing things. So it's okay. Look for that feeling. And it's tough. Hey, I want to go do this. I got to do that. I've been wanting that book. I want to drive over and get that book from the store. No, you're not. Guess what? You're now doing that after 6 o'clock or on your day off. You can't have that immediacy anymore in a lot of things that you do that you used to do. No, we need some organization here. We need to commit to this. And I think we all are going to feel that change. It's important. It's a good thing.
And I like the point that you made, because I really never gave that a lot of thought. But when we create accountability for something and we put something and introduce it to our life, we in essence are taking something else out of our life.
Or reorganizing it at a minimum. Right.
At a minimum, but in reality, I mean, there's the 24 hours that both you and I have, and if we're making an adjustment to now, there's a commitment to this, there becomes a lack of a commitment to something else, and work related, personal related. Hey, look, if I decided, we've had this conversation, you've walked by my office several times during lunch, and you're looking at me, yeah, because I made a commitment that I'm going through this phase of I wanted to lose some weight and I wanted to get in shape and do these things. So did I create a goal? Yes. Do I have accountability? Yeah, I have accountability by sharing it with a lot of people of, hey, this is what I'm doing. And, it sucks when you get caught doing something you're not supposed to. I go upstairs and grab a piece of candy from escrow and they look at you and, oh, is the is the diet done? So,
Or some jerk has a birthday and you got to go have a piece of cake,
cake,
and then everybody
exactly.
asks you, "Oh, Nestor, you're eating cake. What's that all about, huh?"
Exactly. And what we have to realize is, I guess I can say this. If you're feeling those pains, I suppose that's a good thing and embrace it because that means that you are doing,
Mhm.
if you're saying, hey, I feel like I'm missing out on something, that means that you did make a sacrifice. I got to start spending more time doing this and this and this. And hey, that means I'm saying no to spending time doing this and this. And hey, I miss doing that. Then yeah, I love that concept of just understanding that that's how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
So that was I guess you gave me an aha moment there, so I
All
appreciate
right.
that. But
Very good. Well, maybe
the
we should. I'm sorry.
go ahead,
One
go ahead,
more.
go ahead.
I was just say at some point here we should probably go. I mean, you can talk about accountability. I think it's good we're talking about the process and what to expect and all these different things because it's powerful and it's helpful, and I hope it's encouraging to people uh, who are interested in these types of things to get involved. But the essence of accountability, I don't think has ever changed, and it's three things. Is this an okay moment to go through those, or
Absolutely.
all right? So when we want to change things, we got to be held accountable. And how do you do that? And you've all heard this. So here we go. We're going to go right through them again. And I just wanted to hit on this to make sure that we don't go around it because it is accountability. And they're the three facets of it, right? The first one is you got to have some sort of visualization for this. So whether that's a whiteboard in your office, whether that's a screensaver on your computer or on your phone or something that you're looking at constantly, you've got to be constantly reminded as to what you're committed to. Second step is you need to announce it to the world. You need to let your friends know. You can let social media know. You can let your family know. Say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. And now you've got instant accountability. That's what Nestor was experiencing.
Exactly.
He didn't ask us to hold him accountable, but he let everyone know what he was looking to do. And when he got off step, without inquiry, he was given unsolicited advice or questions about his actions. So it's good to announce to the world what you're going to do. And there's a little bit of fear with that because you're like, oh boy, now I've got to be held accountable. But if your why is big enough, if it's emotional enough and it affects you internally, this is the best thing you can do. Lock those two together, emotion and commitment. And of course, last is the carrot or the whip. Usually the whip, right? So for me, I don't know what it would be. Okay, Nestor, if I see you eating a piece of cake, you know what? Right now, why don't you give me a check for $100? And if I see you eating a piece of cake, I'm going to send that to your mortal enemy. And you can tell me who that is. I'm going to write that name on this check. As soon as I see that piece of cake go in your mouth, this check is going in the mail. So there's your accountability, however that might be. People use examples of eating something gross for someone who's really into food, or making someone wear a costume or clothes that they would just be abhorred to be seen in. You got to have that pain. It's the pain factor. But really, that's the essence of accountability. Know what you want, have it right there in front of you constantly as a reminder. Announce it to the world of what you're going to do so that there's an accountability factor there. And then 3 is add a little bit of leverage. As Tom Ferry would say, put your booty on the line.
Exactly.
Have a check or a can of cat food that you have to eat or something ridiculous. And that's how you do it.
The one thing I would add to that is be able to forgive yourself and readjust. So we have got to understand that the growth comes in the pain with these changes that we've made, and we are going to go off track for whatever reason. Sometimes it's not our fault, sometimes it is completely our fault, but it's going to happen. And we have to understand that the goal is still the goal. So it's not that you got off track, it's okay, we got off track, boom, we're done, we get back on track. And I think, that's one of the things that we experience on a weekly basis when you go over your accountability with individuals. It's okay, last week we said we were going to do this. If that didn't get accomplished, it doesn't mean, hey, it's all over, we're done, I'm done with you. It's okay, great, let's get past that. And how quickly can we get past that and get back on track? And too often we just beat ourselves up. And the example of the cake that you gave, it can very easily turn into cake, then to candy, then to, hey, I blew it today with cake, so I might as well just give up the whole day and I'm going to, eat cake and ice cream and everything else that's bad for me for the rest of the day. That's not the right approach. It's boom, okay, I got it. Hey, let's get back on track. And
Yeah. It goes back to the bigger lesson of, it's not whether you fall down or not, because I guarantee you're going to fall down
absolutely.
at least once. And that's for stoic people. Most of us are going to fall down repeatedly, but it's how quickly you get back up and get on track.
Exactly. Well, I'm fired up about today. I want to announce a couple of things. I haven't even talked to you about this yet, Travis.
Uh-oh. Can I say one thing real quick before
Sure.
we get off track here?
Absolutely.
You said something that I think is a great point, which is that we need to measure as we go along. And I like the 90-day cycle. Start up with that 90 days. So at a minimum, at 90 days, you're reevaluating where you're at, what you're doing, and then stride out for another 90 days. If you make it too long, this whole year, it never gives you a break. It can lead you to monotony and maybe doing something that's not the best thing for too long of a period of time. So we always want to be measuring, but to say, here's what I'm gonna do for the next 90 days and nail it, you can easily say, I'm doubling down now, I'm gonna do it again for 90 days. So that's really easy. You don't have to worry about it getting off track, but you can also adjust. Okay, here's what I've seen. So it's next 90 days, I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna do this one thing different that I think is gonna make me more effective. So I just thought I'd make that point because you kind of alluded to that.
I like that. I use the same, for me personally, I like the same number as well. When I put things into place, I like to work in 90-day cycles. But I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Looking at your 90 days, do you ever look at making adjustments within the 90 days, or is it, hey, this was my commitment, if I'm going to stick with this for 90 days, regardless of what happens, boom, here it goes, 90 days. Or, if 30 days goes on and you see something where you feel like there can be an improvement, would you make a change to that? Or is it 90 days, boom, I'm done?
So we're always improving. I hope we're always improving. When you take action, there's always going to be ahas about, you're, how do I explain the difference? It's kind of like, so my answer is no. I think it's important that for 90 days, you do what you said you're going to do. Okay. But while you're doing that, there's so many facets of it, which in an accountability class, in a coaching class, in a role-playing class, I guess that's what it is. You're going to constantly be honing your skills and improving your effectiveness. But when you commit to 90 days for something, I think you need to see those 90 days through because it's not too long. And it really takes 90 days to achieve something. You can't do something for a week and it doesn't work and say, I'm not going to do that. Whoa, certainly not in this business. You need to have a much longer horizon. So I like to see the commitment, but with the skills and everything that you're doing within it, there can be small adjustments being made. Whatever you committed to, you need to stick to that pretty strong.
Okay. And I agree. And give an analogy maybe to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So let's say for 90 days, I choose that I'm going to door knock 100 doors a week or so many doors per day. That an adjustment or a modification to that might be, hey, I'm having better results between these hours of the day, so I'm going to adjust it to try to improve myself and change it to these hours of the day, which would be okay in that 90-day plan versus saying after 30 days, well, door knocking just doesn't work, so I'm not going to do door knocking anymore and I'm going to replace it with this. You would stick with the 90 days of door knocking and making modifications to, I'm knocking with my left hand now instead of my right hand because I think it's good luck is okay. But
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I was trying to get through.
okay, sweet. Um, One of the things that I wanted to announce, and the reason that I was bringing it up when I was bringing it up is because I feel like it fits in the conversation that we're having today. So, been working with some, as you know, Travis and I can't do this without the help of the marketing department, the Daniel and the Nathan and the Megan behind the scenes that are helping us out with producing this and getting this information out to everybody. But I was brainstorming when Travis was on vacation. We were brainstorming of how to bring more value to everybody and um, answer your questions. So we are working on starting a new episode that is basically ask Travis and Nestor. It will be a questions. It'll be an opportunity to submit questions live, and we will answer those questions based on our experiences and based on our general knowledge of what we know, and hopefully they're questions about things that we know about. But it's a new series that we're working on to try to continue to bring value to everybody. I'm excited about it. Um, Creating content. Maybe we'll try it for 90 days and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's right.
And see what happens. We'll go 90 days, give or take, how it works, and we'll go from there and readjust. But um, excited about that. I'm excited about real estate in general and how the market's going. I don't know if you wanted to, it's interesting. I felt like we slowed down a little bit here, but I feel like it picked right back up. It was like a week and a half, 2 week slowdown, and then all of a sudden I feel like things have picked up again. So crazy what the last 90 days of the year are going to bring us. Uh, you know, we are in the fourth quarter. Typically, this is hibernation season for most people in our industry. People start to back off of what they're doing. They start to get into the holiday mode and things like that. And, our conversation today about accountability, I think now would be a fantastic time to create a goal or some things or some, reevaluate and look at what you want to do and hold yourself accountable from now for the next 90 days. Here's what I personally think it will do is come December 31st and January 1st. First of all, if you truly take this goal or this challenge on, come the first month in January, you will be happy because there will be some results that will occur in January because of the 90 days. And I also believe that you will finish December 31st being happy and pleased with what you saw for the end of the year, and create some distance between you and those in our industry that are our competitors that are gonna hibernate. Same as what's occurred with COVID. We saw some people, go to the wayside, and we saw some people that continued to move forward and pivoted and did some things. And we're seeing separation. So that's my challenge. If somebody is interested in that challenge, I know that Travis has got some resources as far as scoreboards and things like that. I have some scoreboards and things of that nature that are fillable, that you can put in whatever you want to do, whatever adjustments you want to do, and you can track it for the next 90 days. So you're welcome to reach out to myself or Travis, and I'm happy to share what I have. And I'm sure he's happy to share what he has. And that's my challenge.
Very good. This is a long game, real estate. So I don't like to look day to day, on necessarily what's going on. And we should be aware of the market and be able to talk intelligently with our clients. But I think overall, there's a strong desire for home ownership. And I believe that for time to come here, it's going to be a good market, despite what's going on out there. There's so much day to day, obviously, as we're here, with fires and social unrest and COVID and all these things going on. And, they're all important subjects and we don't want to ignore them, but we got to stay focused on helping people in our businesses. And I definitely think, those of you that watch Stephen Thomas, it's that we're seeing a shift in the market this year due to a lot of factors, and that it is probably be a busier than usual fourth quarter. I wouldn't say we're going to be gangbusters or anything, but there are people interested in doing things. And I think that that's going to last. So yeah, don't gear down for sure. And let's set ourselves up for a great 2021, because I think it will be a good year real estate wise, despite all of the other distractions that are going on out there. So I love your challenge. I think it's perfect timing and something great for us.
Sweet. And then I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm going to, because one of the things that Travis said is share. So I will create a 90-day challenge for myself, and I'm happy to share that with whoever wants to see it, so that you're welcome to hold me accountable. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to add one thing to that, is I am going to take my own advice and I'm going to tweet 24 times a day for the next 90 days.
Oh, Lord.
I know, right? And I will share what the heck happens, good, bad, or different. I will let you guys know what occurs there. But so it's out there. So you catch me with only 23 tweets. And we can talk offline about if I fail at this, who will send my check to.
Nice.
But so I've thrown it out there. So anyway, appreciate everybody's time today. Travis, I appreciate your time as always. We're always here to help, and hopefully everybody has a wonderful weekend. Happy Friday.
Yes.
And stay safe out there, stay indoors. The air quality is still kind of not so good. So the sky looks, some good pictures for that.
There you go. Pulling the diamond out of the rough there, yes.
Yeah. So I was gonna say the sky looks good, but it's because of bad stuff that's going on. So I didn't want to say it that way, but yeah, there's some interesting photos that can be taken right now to share on your social media, because the sky is definitely reflecting what's going on right now. But anyway, stay safe.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Take care. We'll talk to you guys soon.